Welcome to Metal Verbalizers. On this podcast, we talk with and about underground metal bands that we personally like and want to support. In this episode, we talk about the band's origin, inspirations, future plans, and more. Even if you're familiar with this band, maybe you'll hear something that you didn't know already. I'm Johan Verbalizer, and in this episode, we will verbalize Under the Ashes. Alright, so let's start by having you introduce yourselves and what you do for the band.
Mm-hmm. Sure. My name is Simon. So I play bass and do vocals for Under the Ashes, which is a relatively new band. When did we start? Maybe late 2022. 2023 is really when it sort of took off. But yeah, I mean, the goal was to play sort of combination of, old school thrash and death metal, bit of crust in there. We're thinking a lot of Bolt Thrower, Sacrilege, Slayer, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So kind of like starting on a more individual question, when did you start playing and singing, and what encouraged you to start doing that?
So I probably started playing bass when I was maybe 14, 15. So over... almost 25 years at this point. So yeah, I mean, I guess the same as anyone else, right? I was just I was a fan of heavy music. One of the first things I learned to play, I remember, was Chaos AD on the bass, that sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of your listeners will know this feeling. With metal and punk, there's always that drive to get involved, right? It seems like it's a genre where most of the fans, I think, are involved one way or another in the music. So yeah, no different from me. As for doing vocals, that came a bit later. Some of the previous bands I've been in, I was, doing some backing vocals or singing certain parts. But this is the first time I've really fronted a band, so that's been a bit more of a challenge. But like I said, yeah, played enough bands over the years, so it's not completely unfamiliar,
All right. So you mentioned a little bit about when Under the Ashes started, 22, 23. But would you like to elaborate a little bit on how the band started?
It was actually started off with a social media post. So I posted something up, saying, "Hey, look, does anyone want to play something in the style of Bolt Thrower and Sacrilege?" And almost immediately, I got a few responses, and I was very pleased that Luke and Alistair, the two guitarists, they both messaged me almost immediately. I've known both of them for years, but not played with them in bands before. So that got the ball rolling, so to speak. And a friend of ours who plays drums, he didn't want to join, but he was happy to kind of help us out. So when we were jamming and so on, he played drums for us for a while. And then we connected with our drummer Tibble. We really got moving, because then we had a solid lineup. So
right.
Yeah.
I would also like to talk a little bit about the sound of the band. How would you quickly describe the band's sound and style for someone who have never heard you before?
Mm-hmm. It's always a bit. Well, I say it's a bit tricky sometimes when you're in the band, and maybe it's a little easier for people outside the band to give
that makes sense.
Yeah, to give a quick synopsis like that. But it's very rooted in old school thrash and death metal. I mean, our guitarist Alistair always sort of says, thrash, crust, death metal, all these things. There was a point in the 80s where they were all kind of linked anyway.
Yeah,
and it's really sort of in hindsight or later on that these things become separated out to subgenres or different categories. So yeah, really trying to go for a bit of an old school sound, but I suppose like every band, right? You want to think it's not too derivative, but so I think we've got a good mix in there. Yeah, I mean it's aggressive, it's death thrash, but we've also got heavy metal elements, especially in some of the solos, and that's so we still got a good bit of melody in there as well.
Yeah,
So that was not
absolutely.
sorry, that wasn't a quick and concise description, was it? But yeah, there you go.
No, it was great, and I mean it's kind of like you were going for a little bit earlier as well. You mentioned bands like Bolt Thrower, for
Mhm.
example, and that is something I kind of thought about when I heard Under the Ashes the first time. That like it has that type of like it has quite a fast tempo. Like it's very fast, but it also has that kind of like very heavy style and like really heavy feel to it. That almost like is kind of reminiscent of something like a band like Bolt Thrower done in the past,
Mhm.
without being like a copy of Bolt Thrower or something like that. That was kind of something I felt when I heard it.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, and actually on that and the sort of the list of influences, I should probably mention Doom is just Doom metal in general is quite a big factor in our sound. Alistair's, I mean, you can look back over the bands he's played in and the stuff he's been involved in. I mean, doom metal's really been his one of his real focuses, right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely some trouble in our musical DNA. Um, some of the riffs definitely, and yeah, we're trying to. It's always difficult, I think. Yeah, if you're playing fast to try and keep heaviness in there, but also without it all kind of just becoming a bit too much. So I think, yeah, I think we so far we've managed a pretty good balance there.
Yeah, I think so too. That was kind of like something that I felt when I listened to it as well. That that type of balance that you're referring to.
Yeah, yeah, because it can sometimes if you're just going for pure speed, but you're trying to be heavy as well, it can turn into a bit of a sloppy mess. So
Right.
we tried to avoid that, and and yeah, I think we've. I mean, I'm really lucky to be playing in a band with these guys. They're all fantastic
Yeah.
musicians, and yeah, it just makes everything a bit more interesting to play.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like kind of, if I'm speaking from my personal opinion, that is like, as much as I like, like really, really, really fast, like extreme metal bands and stuff like that, I do also kind of like appreciate that when like bands kind of take a step back almost and like kind of try to not go like for just pure speed and kind of like being able to kind of slow down a little bit, but also kind of use that effectively to like do really heavy styles of music without going like too overboard with like speed and stuff like that.
Yep, yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm a big fan of grindcore, but all my favorite grindcore bands are they're really good at playing with those dynamics, right? We
Yeah.
have, um, and I think anything where it's just anything where you just going fast or keeping a sort of monochrome pace, I think it gets boring.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something I kind of felt also, again, like about Under the Ashes, that I think that was a big part of what really like kind of caught my attention and really kept me listening to the music and really like keeping me interested and engaged with the music. That type of like kind of balance and that kind of like almost like a little bit slower, like heavy type of
Mhm.
music.
Yeah, well, and also, I mean, we've played enough gigs now. You can see with the audience reactions. It's usually the mid-paced and slower bits that really get the audience going, right? If
Yeah.
so, we're gonna try and incorporate a bit more of that into our sound. Um, yeah, yeah, like I said, yeah, it just gets same with anything, right? If you do too much of anything, it gets boring pretty fast. So.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. But yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier about like inspirations and influences and stuff like that, a little bit already. But I would also like to talk a little bit about like kind of what inspires Under the Ashes in general. Like it doesn't have to be like other bands or even music related necessarily, but like what inspires the band to do what they're doing.
Um, I suppose speaking generally, I think all four of us in the band, have been involved in metal scene in various ways for quite a long time, right? It's all quite important to us. We've all played in multiple bands. We're all getting a bit old, but we're still passionate about playing music. So I think that's definitely a big factor. Um, Myself, Luke, and Alistair have been in the London metal scene for a long time. Thibault was he's originally from France, so he sort of grew up in the Paris metal scene,
Right.
and has been living in London the last few years. So we're all we've all been in it for years, really. So it's a passion, it's a hobby. I can't really imagine life without going to gigs, playing in bands, doing all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's more fun to
Neither
me
can I.
yeah, it's more fun to me than growing up and being a proper person,
Right. Yeah.
So that's a big factor, I think. Just having that passion to play and to listen to music. More generally, I mean, talking about influences. Uh, Talking about, say, the lyrics, for example. So I write all the lyrics, and I'm, as I've mentioned, a big fan of grindcore and crust and the sort of punkier side of things. So I think that comes through in some of my lyrics. But we're not a punk band. But I try and bring a little bit of that over, at least in terms of lyrics. Yeah, so there's a few things in the mix there that keep us going. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of lyrics, that was something I was kind of like gonna ask you a little bit about as well. Like the kind of overall approach for the lyrics, and if you want to kind of elaborate on that a little bit.
Mm. So with the lyrics, I mean, at least so far, what we've done is, the songs are usually pretty much complete, and I'll have an idea, often discussed with the rest of the band, where the lyrics will go. I always think with this kind of music, at least with my kind of vocals, it's essentially it's a sort of percussion instrument, right? Or it's part of the rhythm section. So work out the placement of vocals, and then I fill it in.
Right.
And if especially on the last record, a lot of my lyrics are very anti-war, talking about. I mean, not just talking about the nuclear war and its consequences and stuff, but it's definitely been a big influence on me. It's something I've maybe not an obsession, but it's been something I've thought about for a very long time. I've been to Hiroshima and Nagasaki and these sort of places, and it's something I could say relatively passionate about. I bring that into lyrics.
Right.
But it's not exclusively. It's not all this sort of crusty anti-war type stuff. A couple of the songs have maybe more dealing with sort of personal struggles, or I mean, Deus Vault, is obviously anti-religious song. So I mean, this sort of classic anti-war, anti-religion kind of topics,
Right. So yeah, and with that being said, would you say that Under the Ashes is more of a band that writes the instruments first,
Yeah.
or the lyrics first?
Yeah, the instruments
Right.
for sure. Yeah. So we've got two, both our guitarists, always coming up with great riffs, and then what's one of the nice things about this band is it's very collaborative, and we're all a bit older, so I think that makes it a bit easier for people to collaborate, and how maybe someone's got a riff, but then how about we change this around, or so on. And usually the writing process will there'll be sort of 2-3 riffs, the sort of the basis of a song there, and we might play it through for a while and then end up rearranging it, taking stuff out, and so on. Thibault, our drummer, is multi-instrumentalist, so he's always got really good contributions to the songwriting process. It isn't. I think a lot of bands are just, it'll be, usually one lead guitarist writes everything, right? Or sometimes, but yeah, this is a much more collaborative process. My input's mostly on the lyrics, but we'll all have a say in. I think structuring songs is really important. Just thinking previous bands I've been in, or friends' bands and so on. A number of times you think, oh, that bit's really good, or structuring songs is so important. Just the way they flow, the way it all fits together, I think when people are really good at writing riffs, it's really important that they're flexible enough to sort of say, oh yeah, actually, let's swap this bit around, or let's take this riff out, use it as something for a different song, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Would you say that you have like a similar mindset for like an album as well, like when it comes to structure with the songs?
So we did spend quite a lot of time discussing the order of the album, how it's going to flow together. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we do the same thing with our set lists, right? It's important to plan out. I mean, it's all part of the listening experience, right? It's an album should flow. It's not just a compilation of songs that you've thrown together, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, sure, for sure, that definitely a consideration of ours. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, like I would also like to discuss a little bit about artwork. Mm-hmm. For example, for your album, Sacrifices Heaped.
Yep. So the cover actually comes from a book that I bought in Hiroshima at the Atomic Bomb Museum there. So it's obviously Thibault, our drummer. He modified. He's a very talented graphic designer. So he modified the image, but you see, it's actually a commemorative march that was done in Hiroshima for I believe in one of the anniversaries of the atomic bombing. So you can see the people there with the torches, and of course it's such a strange and stark image that we thought this would be a really good one to be the basis for the album cover.
Right.
So it's a commemorative march for the atomic bombing, and then obviously the mushroom cloud in the background.
Yeah.
But then again, it fits with some of the topics of militarism there, because it's hard to. It's such a strange image that this could be a rally or something, a political rally or something like that. It's not immediately obvious that it's a commemorative peace march, right? Especially with the strange idol that you've got there. Which I believe was some artwork done, commemorating victims of the nuclear bombing. But so I mean, we found this interesting, ambiguous image, but the origin of it, fits with a lot of the lyrical thrust of the record. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it was a artwork that really caught my attention in that sense. That like, when I saw it, it really like caught my attention in the sense that like, it kind of interested me in how it looked, and it really made me like feel like wanted to check out the music as well.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I think it came out really well. It's an interesting image. As I said, I've got it scanned from this book I bought when I was in Hiroshima, but it's not an image. I don't believe the image is, or maybe it is now on this cover, but I don't believe this image was out on the internet.
Right.
And I'd have to dig up this book to see when that original I suppose it's more not just a commemorative march, but I believe it's also a religious ceremony as well. I'll have to check when that was taken.
Okay, I see. But yeah, I would also like to discuss a little bit about the future of Under the Ashes. So like, what are your plans for the future? If it's upcoming music, upcoming shows, whatever it might be.
Yeah, so now we are we're trying to write more music. So obviously we put out this record not very long ago, but it's the typical thing in a band, right? You put out an album, but really you've been playing those songs for a year or more.
Yeah.
So they might be fresh to a lot of people, but we're kind of keen to get writing again. We've got a few songs that we were working on. That we kind of put aside just because we had this album release and we had a few gigs coming up and so on. So we'll get back on that, hopefully starting again next week,
Right.
just jamming, rehearsal and so on. We were hoping to try and record maybe an EP, maybe by the end of the year, early next year. We've been playing at least one new song that's not on the album. We've been playing that the last few gigs, so maybe if we get another couple, we can put out an EP or maybe just a digital single and carry on from there.
Right.
We're also looking for more gigs at the moment, especially keen to get out of London. London's great for shows, and it's got a lot of different music scenes and a lot of different metal scenes within it. It's so big, but it can be a bit difficult to get out of that London bubble, right? You got so yeah, at the moment we're trying to organize some gigs around the UK for early next year, with hopefully with an international band, and then so ideally we'll be doing that in February, a few gigs around the UK, and then off the back of that we're hoping to get maybe some European shows later in 2026. So
Right.
So yeah, in summary, writing new music and trying to get out of the London bubble. Yeah.
Right. Sounds great. Well, that is pretty much all the questions I have for you. But is there anything else you want to talk about in regards to the band that you feel like I should have asked about, or just generally something that you would like to say before we end?
No, I mean, look, thanks again for taking the time and showing the interest in our band to chat with me today. Yeah, just ask your viewers to check us out. Obviously, you can find us on Bandcamp. We are on Instagram, and we're also on Facebook. But I think that platform's kind of dying, isn't it? So it used to be really good for gigs and advertising gigs and so on. No longer these days. But yeah, you can find us online. We have a YouTube channel as well, where we've taken quite a lot of live footage from gigs we've done. So if you want a little taste of what we are like live, you can see some videos up there. Check us out. See what you think.
Right, yeah. And of course, we are big fans of Under the Ashes, and we, of course, want to really, really encourage people to check them out as well. And I also want to thank you very much for taking the time to sit down and talk to me today. And good luck with the future of the band.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sure. Yeah, let's stay in touch. And
yeah, absolutely.
Really appreciate this. Thanks, man.
Yeah, likewise. Now we want to encourage you to go and listen to Under the Ashes. Also, don't forget to go and show them some support. It is very important that you support underground bands. Buying merch and going to shows is really great support, of course, but you shouldn't underestimate things like sharing the music, interacting with the band's social medias, etc. It is really important, and things like this does really help the bands greatly. We really appreciate that you've been listening all the way to the end. Thank you very much for listening to and supporting Verbalizers. We will be back to verbalize again next week.